There's a method to becoming a savage in the game. It's a skill. To control a nigga, you gotta always be able to think ahead of him. Whatever you say to him should always lead him back to you.
I would really like to start a petition to change the Power Book 2 theme song. To me, this show is just not worthy of Big Rich Town. I, like many of you out there, used to get really hyped when you heard that song. Now it just causes me dread because I know what's coming after it.
I hurt myself today.
So the show opens up with Tasha having a dream about Raina. She showed more emotion in this dream world than she did the entire time when Raina actually died. A lot of this episode deals with people either wanting or not wanting Tamika to testify. Tasha doesn't want her to, Tariq doesn't want her to, Saxe doesn't want her to. Method Man is the only one who actually does want her to. Because Meth is trying to win a case, he's not really interested in all this family turmoil. Mary J is trying to teach her daughter to manipulate men. She's going for this strong woman thing. She talks about how fucking the cop isn't really a sex thing, it's more of a control thing. But she's using sex to control him, so I feel like her logic kind of collapsed on itself. But whatever, teach your daughter to be a thought, even though she says that's not what's happening. Her oldest son, Kane, is having issues with how she's running things, and honestly, so do I. She's just another one of those characters that's just not believable. So Mary J is testing Tariq in this episode. She's sending her daughter to seduce him and try to get information out of him. She's asking Tariq about the new drawing in her son's backpack. Tariq, as always, is always one step ahead of her. And why shouldn't he be more savvy than the queen of a drug underworld? But either way, Tariq, of course, passes her test with flying colors. And by the end of the episode, he's basically accepted into her family because reasons. I was going to defend Tariq initially, believe it or not, about not saying anything about the drawing, but how it eventually played out with him knowing exactly what she was trying to do the whole time, it just kind of ruined it for me. Again, it's just poor execution by the writing team. So Saxe tells Tariq that Tamika's testimony could place both of them at the scene of Ghost murder. This leads to Tasha basically telling Tariq to try to convince her not to testify, and if she won't comply, that he should make her. It should also be noted that Tariq had mentioned earlier in the episode that he would be willing to take care of her. So I guess Tariq is just a stone cold assassin now. Add that to the list of everything else that he's capable of. When Tariq and Tamika finally talk, he tries to use the innocent kid approach at first, but when that doesn't work, he actually starts to reach for his gun. He's actually interrupted when Method Man's character arrives, but Tariq is apparently prepared to kill lawyers now as well.
That makes sense.
You've barely convinced me that he is capable of murdering two people he actually had gripes with, and now you want me to believe that he's capable of this? Sorry, I'm just not buying it. When this assassination attempt fails, Tasha decides privately to take a deal so there's no trial in order to protect Tariq. Just saying, Tasha probably should have done that to begin with.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Saxe's niece character is probably the newest cringe character to be introduced to this series. At one point, she actually goes on to call Saxe privileged. Is this the excuse that they're going to use to explain why Saxe still has a job? Because this whole time I thought it was just bad storytelling. Fuck me, right? Anyways, his niece goes back undercover to try to get information about Tariq's finances. And she gets absolutely nowhere because she's horrible at digging for information, even with the dumbest guy on the show in Braden. So instead, she decides to drug Tariq at his birthday party and then set up his phone when he passes out so she can track him. While Tariq is in this drug state, he doesn't get anywhere with Lauren. He kind of disregards Mary J's daughter, Diana, even though she does manage to steal his gun from him. And he eventually stumbles to the graveyard and apparently got changed somewhere along the way because now he's wearing a suit. He proceeds to express his guilt at Raina's grave, which is probably the best and most honest thing he's done in the entire existence of this show. Then he also stops at his father's grave and tells him exactly why he needed to kill him. And Saxe is standing right there recording the whole thing. Saxe then uses this footage to basically cut a deal with Method Man. Basically, the deal entails that they're going to put Tariq on the stand and I guess try to get a confession out of him, or at least try to prove that he was the actual killer. This way, Saxe puts Tariq behind bars, and Method Man gets a W because Tasha's going to be acquitted. I feel like there was too many twists and turns to get to this conclusion, but that's the route they took, so. Regardless, I'm sure the writers are going to come up with some fantastic shit to get Tariq out of this. I have to quickly mention the two professor characters, who are quickly becoming the most irritating. Their names aren't really important enough for me to remember, and this is episode 5, so sorry. We got Dude Man Professor, who's basically lecturing Tariq about being late for class and how he's making black people look bad. For a guy who's fucking his students, he's laying it on really thick with this racial stuff. Besides, Tariq is just making students in general look bad at this point. Then you have Miss Lady Professor.
Hey, Miss Ladybit.
Who in one scene says she's not getting sucked into this toxic relationship anymore, and in the next scene she sleeps with Zeke, a student, just because he smooth talked her for a few minutes. These two characters are awful to me and are basically just walking contradictions at this point. I honestly can't tell half the time if I'm supposed to like them or hate them, but I definitely hate them. So add them to the long list that I already have. This show just continues to disappoint each and every week. They constantly find new ways to make the plot more convoluted and not believable. It's kind of like a car accident at this point where it's horrible to look at, but I just can't take my eyes off of it. Plus it keeps giving me more material to make videos about every week. So thanks, Power Book 2, I guess. So did you see this episode? What did you think about it? Let me know about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here for another Power review. Thanks for watching. Peace out.